Okay, so it is the 10th of May. Not too much going on today because today is day off in training, um, which I need obviously because my quad is still acting up a little bit. Diet was good today, managed to eat a lot, so on track there. Um, yeah, didn't really get too much work done either, honestly. Just one of those days where you don't have a lot of energy or motivation to do things, even though I did get a good night's sleep last night. I just, it's just one of those days. So I did not do a ton of work on my book. I did work through one section, but it wasn't a particularly big section, and that was really about all I could get done today. Aside from that, started playing FF9. I never really got around to FF9, so a friend of mine loves it, thinks it's the best Final Fantasy, so I'll be working on that slowly for a while. So yeah, got that started, and enjoying it so far. Today I kind of wanted to talk about the myth that you can only gain X, amount of muscle per year, and in general, that's kind of a true statement. So basically the story is that my girlfriend was telling one of her coworkers about my bulk plan, and one of her other coworkers basically came up and said that's impossible. You can only gain 1 pound of muscle per year, so the rest of it's just going to be fat. Well, first of all, that's very obviously not true because, have you seen bodybuilders? Have you seen what they do? Bodybuilders gain a lot more than 1 pound a year. Now, the real figure is closer to 5, 6, 7 pounds a year. More, but, again, not a ton. Now, the important thing to realize is that that's an average number. That's not like a hard limit. That's not, it's not like, you're going to hit 5 pounds for the year and then you're going to be like, well, that's it. I can't build anymore. And what that figure also doesn't take into account is huge changes in body weight, which can cause massive changes in your body composition as well. So, the typical exerciser, can put on maybe 5 pounds a year, provided, of course, that they are, and that's of muscle, that is, provided, of course, that they are training well enough and they're eating well enough. And in some cases, those 5 pounds may be solely due to changes in body composition. So you might stay at roughly the same weight while gaining muscle mass, or you might go up in weight a little bit while also gaining muscle mass. But in general, that figure kind of holds true when you're not close to, well, a couple things. That figure holds true when you're not an advanced exerciser. So, of course, when you just start out, you're going to gain muscle a lot more quickly than when you've been training for 10 years. So if you take a pro bodybuilder who's been training for forever, they're obviously going to gain a lot slower than someone who's just started for the first time, simply because, the principle of diminishing returns. Now, another factor that, again, switches things up is if you're making huge changes in your body composition. So if, for example, like me, you're gaining 20 pounds, that could also cause a pretty huge jump in lean body mass, even though you're also gaining a lot of fat. That's why bodybuilders tend to do bulk cycles, because, they, are not going to gain, they are going to gain more fat than they want, but they're also going to build more lean mass than they would otherwise simply by putting on a ton of weight. That doesn't mean that you should put on a crap ton of weight. That doesn't mean I'm saying you should put on 100 pounds in a year or something like that. But, gaining 20 pounds at a time here and there can actually build a lot of lean muscle mass, relative to what you normally would, for that time period, for that year. And then, of course, another factor that messes stuff up is anabolics. Obviously, if you ever take steroids, that makes a huge difference too. You're going to see a huge boost from those. Again, not that that's always worth the cost in terms of, acquiring them, the fact that they're illegal, the fact that they have, health side effects. So that's one of those things, of course, where you have to really weigh the, the benefits versus the harm on that one. But that is another thing that can, really throw a wrench in that. And again, it's also important to realize that, again, those numbers are averages. if I put on 1 pound in 1 year because I'm not training very well, my body weight is staying roughly the same, and then I gain 12 pounds of lean mass next year because I do a bulking cycle and I do really good training and I put on a bunch of weight, that's going to average out to 5 or 6 a year, even though, again, I put on 12 in 1 year and 1 in the other. So it's don't think of that as a hard rule. Again, think of that as a guideline, in terms of reasonable expectations, but it's not a hard rule. And of course, genetics can, there's some people that could gain muscle like without even, freaking trying. There was a really good story that Greg Knuckles told me where he basically said that he had a football receiver, and the guy refused to do any upper body training because he's like, you know what, if I do any upper body training, my arm's going to get too big and I'm not going to be able to hold on to the ball. And he's like, well, that's silly. You just do it. That's probably never going to happen. And then the guy says, okay, well, I'll give you 2 months or whatever, some short period of time, and then we'll see. And sure enough, 2 months rolls around, and this guy has arms that are way too big to hold on to the ball, and so the coach goes, yeah, okay, you're right. That's it. And that's an instance where someone just had crazy awesome genetics and just builds muscle way too quickly. Is he only gaining 5 pounds a year? Probably not. He could be gaining more. So those are all factors that can influence how much muscle you can build in a year. And of course, it's not a hard set rule. It's good to have that estimate, to have an idea of what to expect, but it's also possible to see much different numbers. It's possible to see much lower numbers if you have crappy genetics, or you've been training for a while, or you're just not putting in enough effort. It's possible to see huge jumps if you're a beginner, or if you're eating a crap ton of food, or if you're taking steroids, or any of that other stuff. So that's kind of my take on that. And my body composition has gone down a little bit since I've gained 20 pounds or so in the last few weeks. I'm not going to deny that, but I'm also not going to deny that I've definitely built a lot of muscle in the process, and my legs aren't fitting into my pants anymore just because I've put on a crap ton of mass in my quads. So 1 pound of muscle a year is an absurdly low amount. It's definitely going to be more than that in most cases. But again, 5 to 6 is usually kind of the expected number, but that is an average. So anyway, I'm going to go to bed now. So as always, like, comment, share, subscribe. Let me know what you think, and have a good one.